Hello students, now we are going to look at a sample client server program. So we have a connection server program that waits for an incoming client request, and once a client connects to the server, the server greets it with a hello world message. Okay, so um, always try to think as an analogy here. When you go to a restaurant, for example, we have a person waiting in the front desk, and once we enter, that person takes us and gets us seated in a table, and then a waiter comes and serves us. Likewise, we use two classes here. The server socket class is like the person who's waiting for the customer to come. So you create an object of the server socket class by passing the port number at which the server will be running, and the client will be contacting that server at that port number. Okay, running at that port number. So until a client contacts the server will not run. So this accept method is like a blocking call. So once until a client connects to the server program will not proceed beyond the accept method. Okay, so once it accepts, once the client kind of connects to the server, then an object of class socket will be passed as a reference, and that will be what is used to communicate with the client. Okay, so we can use different ways to read and write things to socket. So we use only two things here. The print writer class is what we use to print something to the socket. So when I say print something to socket, it means you're sending onto the socket. Okay, and as we'll see in the client program, we'll use the buffer reader to read right from the socket. So now let's actually go to the client program. So the client program again has a similar structure. By the way, the structure of all these programs is that you should import the java.net and java.io packages. Okay, and I put everything inside a try catch block. So the reason why it is all these methods of this java.net and java.io package classes are prone to generate exceptions if they are not handled appropriately. Okay, so both the client and server programs, you always put them inside a try catch block. Alright, so now let's look at the client program. So we need to pass the name of the machine to which you want to communicate. So that's the first argument, as we'll run it and show, and then the port number at which the server is running. So I think, as I told before, each a socket is identified by four entities: the client IP address, the client port number, similarly the server IP address and server port number. So here the client is trying to contact with the server running at a specific port number. So the client should know the port number at which the server is running. So that's what we specify here. Okay, and then we issue or create a socket object. Okay, so client socket is the name of the object, so of class socket, and you pass to the constructor of the socket class the name of the machine. Actually, you do a domain name resolution. So this gets you, once you pass the name of the machine, the get by name method kind of gets you the IP address of the machine. Okay, so the IP address of a machine is stored in the form of this class inet address, and then the port number. So this is the method or the constructor that kind of triggers the client connection request to the server. Alright, so that unblocks this accept method in the server code actually. Alright, so let's just see what is going on in the client. You create a buffered reader. So we use only two things: a buffered reader to read, print writer to write. So this is a standard format for creating a buffered reader object. So you get an input stream on the client socket, and you input stream reader and all those things, and then buffered reader. So this will help you to read from the socket, which means take inputs from the socket. Okay, so now let's go to the server program. So what the server is doing is going to, again, here we need just a print writer. So it uses the get output stream method called to the data socket, and then wrap it up with the output stream writer constructor, and then the print writer. So now you see this is the name of the object of class print writer. So you can say the socket output dot println message. So this will get you the print means you're putting the message onto the socket. Now whenever you use this sockets, connection oriented sockets, this is what is called, you need to make sure that you are calling the flush method. Once you put something on the socket, you need to send it right away to the other side. So that's the purpose of calling a flush method. And then you don't need to do anything else in this server socket program. Ideally, you don't really close the server socket because web servers and all the other servers run all the time, right? But here we close the socket, and we also of course have to close the data socket object, which is an object of class socket. So we close both this socket as well as this server socket. It's a good programming practice to close sockets because we don't want them to be let open and then another user tries to run on the same socket or something like that, and this socket is not available. So we should not, it's a good practice to close the socket, server socket and socket objects if they are no longer going to be used. Okay. So this guy, the server is going to print the hello world message, so the client has to read it using the read line method of the buffered reader class and just prints it out. Now you could make the client to send back a REST acknowledgement, whereas the server code doesn't really handle that, right? So I would just comment it, but if the server can use a buffer reader and get it, then that's good enough. Let's see if we can use a buffer reader. We have to send it. Okay, so the server side is going to print the acknowledgement for receiving the message. That's what this is doing. Okay. Alright, so let's compile and run this. So on the client side, I created two directories, one for the client, one for the server. Let's see. This parenthesis, I think one is too many parentheses. I'm sorry. Right, I think this should be okay. Should be PS. Alright, so the client is ready. Let's compile the server. Okay, now let's run the server. So it's always the server that will start first, or the receiver, either one. So the only argument it is running is the port number. Now if you look at the client code, the client has to, so this is the name of the server class and the client class, and the client has to get the domain name. So for simplicity, we'll just use localhost. Okay, so 4567. So it got the hello world message that was sent by server, prints it out. Now it would have sent received your message, which should show up here, right? So run one more time if you want to see how it runs, right?